Alrighty. So we are live now. Grace, hi. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Thank you for joining us this evening, being a public holiday and all. I appreciate it. Just give me a moment. I will check in on. I think we are live now. We should be live.
Okay.
Coolio. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All good stuff, good stuff. Alrighty, let's just jump right into it. Guys will join us as we progress. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And if you're watching the recording, thank you for taking the time to watch the recording. My name is Noeline Mumbi. I am a supply chain professional. I am also the safe space curator. Safe space is a safe and open learning space for all of us where we come together, we get to learn on personal development and well-being and whatever other topic you would like for us to discuss or to have a conversation on. With me this evening, once again, I am joined by Grace Kariuki. I am going to make her center stage as I introduce her. Hi, Grace. Say hi.
Hmm. Hi, Noeline.
Hi. Alrighty. So, Grace Karaoke is a seasoned marriage and family therapist whose passion is to empower individuals, families, organizations, and in turn, the society to live authentically and to be able to effectively and successfully navigate through life transitions. She has been able to live out her passion both in the US and in Kenya. Her overseas experience has given her a unique edge to relate to and effectively work with individuals, families, and organizations from different and diverse populations. Grace holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Christian ministry and a Master's of Art degree in marriage and family therapy. She is a registered member of the National Certified Counselors in the US, as well as an accredited member of the Kenya Counseling and Psychological Association. While practicing in the USA, she was a duly licensed clinical professional counselor with the states of North Carolina and Maryland. As a professional therapist, she is committed to providing client centered support to inspire, empower, and enable her clients to reach their goals. She facilitates personalized therapy sessions for individuals, couples, families, and organizations. Give it a moment.
Sorry.
Okay. No worries at all, Grace. Grace facilitates personalized therapy sessions for individuals, couples, families, and organizations. She is a consultant with Anchor Relationship Network and offers substance abuse assessments, treatment, and training. She provides counseling. She has also been contracted to provide employee assistance program services to corporate employees and has had above average reviews. Grace's main passion is empowering marriages and families. She does this through group sessions, family sessions, couple sessions, and individual sessions. She has facilitated groups such as bridal showers, corporate sessions on marriage and parenting, youth sessions, family sessions on areas of growth, crisis intervention, grief, and other family transitions. Thank you so much, Grace, for joining us this evening.
You
Thank
are
you.
so welcome, Noeline. Thank you for inviting me.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, we'll just jump straight into the thick of things. Today's topic, we are talking about stress management at an individual level and in the workplace. I suppose whether it's in the workplace or it's in my individual life as a person, stress is stress. It just manifests in different ways. I could be wrong. So, over to you, Grace.
Yeah, you're right. Stress is going to happen to anyone and anybody who is breathing,
Mm-hmm.
including children. We all experience stress, and by definition, stress is the way that it's anything that we experience that usually changes how we feel and what we are thinking, but also it changes our physique, how we are physically feeling. So if there is something that is going on that is beyond my ability to handle at the current time, I might feel tired, I might feel a headache, I might feel some tightness, I might feel some loss of energy. That's physical. And then mentally, I might feel anxiety, I might feel some fear. Emotionally, I might experience and also anxiety, frustration, anger. And usually we can also talk about positive stress. For instance,
Can
you get a promotion.
do
You
I?
get a promotion.
Oh, hi, Grace. Do you want me to share your slides or do you want to talk through fast?
Uh, I didn't get you very well. You are breaking.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Do you want me to share your slides? Do I start sharing your slides?
Oh yeah, you can do that. You can share the slides while I'm speaking. Yes.
Alrighty. Let's see. Share screen. We want to share. One moment as I look for it. I think I got it. There we go. Let me know as soon as you're able to see it.
Okay.
Can you see it?
I think it's not yet. There you go. I
Oh,
can see it now.
fantastic. Okay, let's go on.
Yeah. Right. So I was saying that stress can be it can be positive stress, and it will cause us to have physical or even mental and also emotional reactions to it. So physical, for instance, positive stress might be something like a promotion. So you begin to
Mm,
feel excited, but at the same time, there are changes that happen. So you're going to go into a new space, and you're going to have anxiety about that. You're going to be a little stressed about the transition into a new place, a new job. So sometimes you have to move residences. You have to go to a different town. You have to go to a different country. All that can trigger. It's positive, something positive that is happening, and it can trigger stress because you need to go through a transition. So people who say me, I don't get stressed, that's called denial. We all get stressed especially when we are going through a transition of some sort. So
mm,
by definition, stress will refer to the psychological and physical response of an individual to the demands or threats in their environment. So for work, stress arises when the demands of the job exceed the employee's ability to cope with or control them. And this could be due to a variety of factors, including workload, interpersonal relationships, job security, work life balance, or the physical work environment. Now, when you think about interpersonal relationship, I mean, many of us, you've had a colleague that when you think about going to work and having to deal with them, inakupatia stress ingine hapo hivyo, your heart starts beating, you start feeling quite unsafe because
mm,
of that. Or some of us, it's maybe a boss that is either they push us too much, or they are not necessarily very empathetic, they are not compassionate, they are
mm,
demanding, things have to be done right now. So we all have all kinds of experiences within our workspace that will trigger that feeling of I'm unable to handle, or I'm unable to assimilate the
mm.
the environment, what is being triggered by the environment I'm in. And it's important to be able to understand that. So we can go to the next one. which is how how stress manifests itself, and it's important for us to, every one of us needs to understand how stress manifests itself, because everybody is not the same, and we need to know how you experience stress. As I always say, whenever you are trying to fix a problem or you are trying to find a solution to something, you need to understand your relationship with that thing, so that you know, this is how I experience this issue, and this is how it impacts me. So physical symptoms may include headaches, and headaches may not necessarily be like migraines really bad. It could be just that stress headache that doesn't, it's not too much, it's not too little, it's just there, but it's not leaving. So you are constantly feeling some pressure in your head, and then and of course there can be people who really get migraines. They can't even stand the light, and they become nauseated. They might feel dizzy. So you want to know, how does stress impact me? Then fatigue, physical fatigue. I just feel I don't have energy, or what we might call lethargy. I just don't have energy, no motivation. Muscle tension. A lot of us, we feel that pain in the back. We do feel a lot of tension on our shoulders, and sometimes it's even in our hands. Sometimes when I'm under stress, I will tell, because my hand, one of my hands will become tingly, and I will think about it. Some of us, we have tension in our jaw. Me, I know myself, I'm in under stress, my jaw locks. I can feel it. I can feel like I'm clenching my teeth. And so you want to understand how stress physically affects you. And sleep disturbances is one of the other physical symptoms of stress, where you are unable to sleep very well, where you have a difficult time falling asleep, staying asleep, or you have a difficult time resting. So you sleep, but then your mind is not shutting down. Some people, that will show up in nightmares, what we might call anxiety dreams, where you are having this restlessness throughout the night. It can go all the way to having seizures. Some people can have night seizures. They are not epileptic or anything, but you wake up and you find out that you chewed on your tongue, or you're feeling your jaw is very tight, maybe because you are clenching your teeth during your sleep. And when you find is happening, it's very important for you to get to kind of get some medical attention, or other things that we will talk about. Then emotional symptoms is this is a big one: feeling overwhelmed. And the reason why we feel overwhelmed is because we are feeling helpless. We do not know what to do. We don't have solutions. And so our brain is churning things up and down, and then we are feeling just overwhelmed. So how do you actually experience this? If you want to know you are overwhelmed, you keep sighing. You keep going like, oh, like you're releasing a breath. That's a sign that you are feeling overwhelmed, or you keep scratching your head. You might keep moving some parts of your body, restless. You feel a restlessness. You want to kind of be aware there's something bothering you. But also, you may keep getting up and walking around the office, talking too much, making jokes with people instead of working, instead of staying at your desk and working. It's a sign of feeling overwhelmed. Eating can also be another way you can know when you are stress eating. And you're craving for sugar, you are craving for that kamandazi, and you just find yourself wanting to put something in your mouth. People who smoke, you are constantly needing to go outside and do a smoke, and that's a sign that you're feeling overwhelmed. And remember, the feeling of overwhelm is is actually the feeling of helplessness. I'm feeling like I have no solution. And so irritability is you are snapping at people, you don't want to see people, you start isolating, you start living, you don't not wanting to talk to people, and if they talk to you, your body language, your tone of voice is irritable. There is also anxiety. Anxiety is the fear of the unknown, the restlessness, the feeling of loss of control, the feeling like you're hanging in the air as if your life is just going to go into out of control. And the nowadays, I have noticed that, and I don't know whether it's because we have more information, but there is a higher occurrence of panic attacks now, panic attacks and anxiety attacks. Both of them are coming from that feeling of restlessness, a feeling of loss of control, and a feeling of something bad is going to happen and I won't know how to deal with it. And so you can imagine if you get into these panic attacks, whether they manifest themselves fully or you just feel a need to breathe and you feel like you are losing your breath, if you constantly are feeling that way, what might happen, you might go into depression. And depression is where you feel stuck, where you feel helpless and hopeless about a situation. So you might find yourself feeling stuck, but also you might go into shame. And shame is where you feel that there is something wrong with you because you are unable to create solutions. And so when you go into shame, then you will be dealing with low self-esteem, low levels of self-trust, low levels of confidence, and also a feeling of unworthiness, like there is inherently something wrong with me, and that cycle can now it comes into your cognitive symptoms, where now you have trouble concentrating, trouble making decisions, or memory problems. Now, part of the reasons why this will happen, the trouble concentrating, the making decisions is hard, and the memory problems, is because we are overthinking. So we are churning a lot of thoughts, anxious thoughts in our minds, but we have no solutions. And so it will create, now it goes into now the emotional. And once you begin to feel those negative emotions, you begin to feel physical symptoms. So you start to feel that sickness in the stomach. I think I should have added there. You also have, like you feel like your stomach imejaa maji. You feel like you are burning in your stomach, and that is now the stress hormones that are being triggered by that feeling of helplessness and hopelessness. And then behavioral symptoms might be changes in productivity, absenteeism, or increased conflicts with colleagues. And again, it's because when we are under a lot of stress, we are not thinking very well, we are irritable all the time, we are feeling sad, we are feeling low, and therefore we are not going to be presenting our best self. So we will be triggered a lot, and then we are triggering other people because we are not in a good space. So those are some of the things that will happen. And other behavioral symptoms may be the use of substances to manage stress. So alcoholism, you might find that somebody is actually being absent because they went drinking, and so they are having a hangover in the morning, and other things that could happen. In productivity, there is the perfectionism that comes with second guessing yourself because you are not feeling very confident about yourself. So you are constantly thinking that something is going to go wrong. So you become looking for perfection, and second guessing yourself. Procrastination comes in. You're not finishing tasks. You're not able to do the harder tasks, so you do the mundane ones, like now, things that are not urgent, but because the urgent things are triggering a lot of stress, then you avoid them, but you are just busy. You can't say that you're not doing something. You're just busy. So we can go to the next one. So, and the next slide is defining what is stress management. And stress management is going to be, is referring to techniques that we use in order to control our levels of stress, in order for us to cope with stress, and especially to make sure that we don't get into chronic stress. Now, I will say this: when you have a lot of stress, you have a lot of unresolved issues at work and anywhere in your life, what happens is that you trigger a lot of adrenaline. And adrenaline is that the energy you get when you are afraid, when you are feeling out of control. It's the energy that you get in order for you to be alert and ready for action. So you will find yourself when you are constantly having the release of cortisol into your system, you are going to really struggle a lot with feeling balanced, you, because you are constantly feeling like you're up, you're aroused, you can't relax. And so you are irritable, you're not able to sleep well. And we want to make sure that we have personal techniques of taking care of stress so it doesn't become our way of life. And some people have become what we call tunaitanga adrenaline junkies. So they are either very high or very low. And so we want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves so that we can improve how we are dealing with things on a daily basis. So being able to learn the techniques that we are going to be sharing later on as we continue on is very, very important. Stress management in the workplace involves creating strategies and practices that would help employees manage stressors effectively to maintain and or improve their job performance as well as their personal health. It is very important that for us to understand if your personal health is at stake, then your job performance is not going to be very good. Neither when your job performance is not very good, then you are also your personal health is not going to be very good. And so it is very, very important to make sure that we find the balance. So I want to share some strategies. Maybe we can go to the next one. We talk about some strategies for individual stress management,
Grace.
and what we are
Uh,
going to be talking. Huh?
sorry for interrupting you. I have a
Sure,
question, actually two questions. You
sure.
mentioned about chronic stress, and the first question is what is chronic stress, and what if there is chronic stress? What's the other type of stress that is not chronic stress but is still stress? And my second question is, so what are stress triggers? We've
Okay.
identified what stress feels like, how to
Yeah.
define stress management, but what are stress triggers? Before we move on to the
Okay.
next slide.
Sure, sure. So when we talk about chronic stress, we are really talking about what I was. A lot of us, we live in chaotic environments and we get used to it. So chronic stress is where you have experienced so much chaos in your life that your body is used to living with high levels of stress, where you are constantly having the symptoms that I had spoken about earlier. In fact, some people are not able to relax. No matter what they do, they cannot relax because they are used to staying in that up space. And when they relax, they feel as if they are lazy, or they might feel that they are not productive. So they have to constantly stay in this stress space. And you can tell people like that because they are constantly irritated, they are constantly going, they cannot rest. They find that for them they can't stop. Now there is also what we call because of our personalities. There are sometimes when we will express our stress, our chronic stress in different ways. So this consistent sense of pressure, the consistent stress or sense of pressure, feeling overwhelmed, feeling as if you are helpless. Some people who are usually the outgoing ones, cholerics and what are they called, the sanguines, they will
Mm,
be in activity mode. They are constantly on activity mode. Now, let me give you an example. Somebody who, after work, they have to go out. And when they go out, they go to clubs, from one club to another, and they go home probably after 10 o'clock, after 11 o'clock. So when they get home, they don't even have enough time to rest. So
mm,
this person is gonna wake up tomorrow with a hangover. It may be they didn't even drink, but there is a hangover of activity. And then they don't sleep well. Now, those people will have a lot of body aches. So they have back aches, they have tense muscles, they have headaches, they are constantly taking pills. There are some people they have now, it can grow into now panic attacks, anxiety attacks, a lot of fears. They develop a lot of fear. And then insomnia is big with people who have
mm,
chronic stress. And then they may have a lot of inability to do relationships. They can't, because relationships are very emotional. So for them, they cannot regulate their emotions. They're either angry or happy. They don't have the other emotions in between there. And it's because they are constantly reactive. Now, when we talk about the introverts, what you will see is a lot of symptoms of depression and
mm,
anxiety. The outgoing, the extroverts, you may not see depression. You'll see a lot of anxiety and anger and frustration. With the introverts, you're going to see depression, depressed mood. You will see lack of energy. They just go to work, they do what they are supposed to do, and then they go home. So there is no energy to create anything else except what is absolutely necessary. And even them, they are going to struggle now with things like headaches, backaches, because if insomnia is, well, they will probably struggle more with hyposomnia, which is sleeping too much. So they are the people who, and also appetite changes, they don't eat well, or maybe they are eating a lot. And then the lack of movement, especially for the people who struggle, that the chronic stress is going to trigger depressive symptoms. They are not going to move a lot, and so gaining weight, which can now create things like now high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol issues. So you will find that now individuals will develop some of those things, and so it's really important to be able to pay attention to where you are on this stress spectrum. Now, normal stress is where you are able to bounce back. So there is stress, you feel it, but you have ways of coping with it so that it doesn't take you under, and you are able to balance out. And you can, there are strategies that you use. You just don't go home and watch and binge watch movies because you are feeling so tired, or you just eat mindlessly. Usually people who are able to manage stress, they do it very consciously and they live their life mindfully, so they are
mm,
aware what they're doing. And so those are some of the, that is how I would explain what is chronic stress. And then I would like to kind of talk about triggers, just a little bit of chronic stress, because there is also, now, number one, there is what we call upbringing. So the environment where you are brought up in, if your parents and the people who created the environment where you grew up in, they themselves could not manage stress well, then you never learned the skills for stress management. And then, so that is number one, your upbringing a space where you are. So if there was no training on how to self-soothe, to regulate your emotions, to be able to deal with things as they happen, but your parents or your caregivers, they were reactive, then you will learn. That's the way you think that life is supposed to be done. Then there are issues of poverty, for instance, which is it's a form of neglect. It's nobody's. It may not be anybody's fault, but they're not getting your basic needs met. You may live with a lot of fear and anticipation of lack. So now, when you are, one of the things you tell yourself, you have to eradicate. You have to eradicate poverty, and so you might find yourself working to eradicate poverty, and therefore you are staying on very high alert, and you have to keep going and keep going because you are running away from poverty. Then there is also consistent abuse, not just one-time abuse. It can be staying in a environment where there is trauma, that you are getting traumatized over and over again. So for instance, a home where there is a parent who is addicted to drugs or alcohol, and so they come and they create a lot of havoc. Where there is a dysfunctional marriage, where there is domestic violence, where children are being beaten as a form of punishment or as a form of discipline. Those children are constantly being made to feel afraid. There is no soothing. Even when the violence is gone, there is no soothing. They can develop chronic stress because they never get to a place where safety is predictable. And when there is no predictable safety, then they are going to stay alert all the time. Even when the environment has changed, they are constantly staying alert. And that, the fear that is triggered in homes where there is chaos, dysfunction, violence, and I also need to say, Noeline, children who grow up, the way we live in communities, your uncles are over there, you are living in a big community. Sometimes that those environments can be breeding spaces for incest, sexual violence to children. And so we do need to also understand that if you grow up in a space like that, even after you leave, you may be very panicky. You don't like noises, sudden changes. You want things to stay the same because unpredictable environments don't help us to feel safe. So even as adults in our workplace, we will find ourselves, if there are any changes, you constantly feel a lot of stress, because you change for you means that you are going back into a space where you cannot predict what's going to happen, because you have learned how to stay within. You just want to stay within these boundaries, and this is how people develop OCD. So if I start feeling some sort of anxiety, there is a behavior I do to remove the anxiety. I constantly do not feel safe. So that is actually what chronic stress is that your body is constantly feeling that it is not in a safe space, and therefore I cannot manage. I go into helplessness, overwhelm, and then I will go into either depression or anxiety or both. I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, yes, you have. You've been very systematic in highlighting how it manifests, what causes it, and you've answered it. You've answered it very elaborately. Thank you. Moving on to
Yeah.
strategies.
Yes, let's talk a little bit about trust strategies. And we are going to talk about, the first one is time management. And if you can highlight that diagram, that maybe we can go to that next slide there. And this is called the Eisenhower decision matrix. And I want to encourage us to actually Google it. It's a very helpful one. President Eisenhower was an American president, and he came up with this as a matrix for managing time. And so this is where he says that the first thing you want to do is the urgent. So the urgent things that you need to do, no matter how hard they are, he would say just do it. And when we do it, then we get it out of the way, so that now we can move on to other things which are not necessarily that urgent. But I want to say this: usually, what happens is that we tend to deal with, to have a lot of procrastination. And the reason why we are not doing what is urgent is because we have an issue, a problem with procrastination, based on several things. So number one, there is the issue of the hardness of the task. If I tell myself that this task is too hard, then I am going to procrastinate on it. If I tell myself, or if I am actually experiencing that the task that I'm supposed to do is a is a task that I may not know exactly what is expected of me, it is going to be hard for me to focus on that. It may be urgent, but then I don't, telling myself it's too hard. Maybe it's too hard because I'm not clear on the expectations. It could also be I am questioning my ability, my competence to do the task, or it could be that I am afraid to ask for help. You see, so I do to find out, in this time management space, what is keeping me from doing what is urgent. I need to figure it out. So then there is the decision. The decision is usually you need to schedule time to do it. So there are some things that we need to actually, and this is where I normally say, if you find yourself, you have a problem of time management, you have time, but then you never do it, you never make good use of that time. I normally say it is good for you to do your preparation the night before you go to bed. There is something that happens to your brain when you wake up in the morning and you have a plan already. So the one of the things I usually say, schedule time to do things. Now, number one, before you are able to schedule time, you need to have a task list. You need to ask yourself, what is it that I need to do? What we know as mental health counselors is that if you do not have a plan, you won't be able to follow to finish anything, because there is no plan. So you are just going through some things, but there is no plan. Now, a lot of us, we just kind of wake up and we go with the flow. So you want to make sure that you are not just going with the flow. You are understanding what is it that is needed to be done. The priority list that we make. A lot of time, people don't like to do a to-do list, me included, because then you are thinking, if I make a to-do list, then I have to do it. And many of us, we don't want that, because we don't want to be held accountable. But it is really good for your brain. And remember, your stress is coming from the way that you are thinking. And so if you are able to objectively and clearly have thoughts, you want to make the to-do list. It's very important. It's the first step to actually use this matrix right here. So when we finish, make time to look it up, and see how it works. And so number one, you want to make sure that you have a to-do list. And then number two, what you want to do is you want to prioritize. You want to prioritize your to-do list. Now, I usually say use the traffic light method, where red means urgent. This must be done today. This cannot wait until tomorrow. It has to be done today. So get yourself maybe a red marker and write that. And I always tell people, if you can invest in a whiteboard, just squeeze it. They have the small ones. Invest in a whiteboard. Put it somewhere on the wall of your office, and every morning you write your red is what I must do today. Then your yellows are what I need to do this week, but it is not urgent for today. And then your greens, these are things I know I need to do, but they have no deadline, no time limit. I can do that anytime. They are not urgent. So if you can do that, it can be very helpful with the prioritization. So what happens as you cross off the reds, then you move the yellows to the reds, because that now, if you still have time during the day, you put them there. For tomorrow, all the any red that you didn't do today becomes the priority, and then you add the yellows. And then you look at your green and you begin to move the greens now to the yellow. And then there will be, every day there are new tasks that come up. You want to organize them like that. Your brain needs that. It needs organization. Otherwise, the disorganization is going to create stress for you. In fact, they say that when you declutter your office desk, then you can
Mm.
think better. And it's the same thing with your brain. When you declutter your brain and you take out all the strands and put them and align them together, then your brain can think better. You will actually take care of the brain fog that we feel, and then your procrastination is not going to be as bad. Now, once you have done you have prioritized and you have scheduled the time that you want to do that, I normally encourage people, the way you have the calendar, you have your, maybe it's your planner, and if please, let's all get a planner. I have mine. This one I cannot live without this one. So I have my Google calendar and other calendars, but this one that I write in, it starts from 7 a.m. all the way to 8 p.m. So I
Mm.
can actually organize my day hour by hour, the tasks that I'm going to do every hour. Even a nap, you put it in there. So that your brain
You schedule
doesn't.
them. You
Yes.
schedule your naps. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So schedule every, because that is personal self-care. It's important. Put it on your calendar, you know,
Mm.
right? Lunch, put it on your calendar. And many of us who are firstborns, we were socialized to work all the time because that's how we got our feeling of value. Now, even in our offices, we work through lunch, we work through tea break. When people are out there sitting with their cup of tea and chatting with their colleagues, we are at our desk with our tea. So we want
Mm.
to also allow our times of rest. There is a reason why we work from 8 to 10, and then we have 10 to 10:30 for tea break, and then we have 1 to 2 for lunch. And many of us don't take that advantage of that. Did you know, Noeline, that I think in Asia they usually have
Mm.
nap from 3, I think it's from 3 to 5. I hear.
Oh, I've seen the videos of children in school who lean back, their chairs take the top of their desks or something and lean back and they sleep. And I'm like, okay, that's a good
Yeah,
idea. And in banks,
yes,
and in some of those banks, they recline their chairs and they knock off and they're at work.
yeah,
Oh,
yes. Yeah,
good.
so it's good for us to take on some of these. It reduces a lot of stress, and then
Mm.
there is also this quadrant on delegate. Oh my goodness, firstborns, and many of us who have been socialized to think we have to be heroes, like if
Mm.
we don't do something, it will not be done properly. This is all about vitu tunaita kina perfectionism. So you want to learn how to delegate. It is not always only your way that things can work. You can allow other people to also finish the task using a different way. So all the introverts and all the cholerics, let us learn how to ask for help, to ask other people to help us. Now, for myself, with I had to learn this the hard way because I'm a firstborn, and I learned
Mm,
how to multitask very early. I had to be deputy mom. I had to be, and I did it very gladly, by the way, because my goal was to eradicate poverty in my family. So I did it with a lot of energy and with a lot of joy. But then,
mm,
then I came to realize I cannot do that all my life because I am not a hero. I am not a
mm,
superhero. I also need to even learn. I had to learn how to delegate, and this is one of the things for those people who feel guilty not helping everybody. It is good for you to understand that you can empower people. You can empower people to take care of themselves. You don't have to be the answer to their that martyr mentality, the Jesus mentality. Like if I don't do it, nobody will do it. Train your people, especially even in the office. Equip people to be able to support you in the work that you do. And then we
mm,
also have the last ones who don't want to be. They don't want to work. They don't want to be tired. They want to
mm,
ride on other people's energies. We also want to make sure that if we are there, then we also need to learn how to be in the team, not to be carried, but we also need to do our part. And then there is
yeah,
what we don't need to do, we eliminate. There are some things we have on our to-do list or on our mind that we have to do, which we don't. Now I will give us an example. You don't have to be in everybody's business. Yes, you are brought up in a family where everybody had to know what everybody is doing. And me, there are times when I learned how to, and we will talk a little bit about setting boundaries. When I learned how to set boundaries, they will start telling me stuff, and I will say, actually, I don't want to know. Thank you for letting me know, but no thanks.
no, thank you.
Because yeah, there are
Mm,
some things we don't need to know. So you see, your colleague is not feeling okay. Yeah, yeah, you might ask, how are you? But sasa akianza kukwambia mambo ya kule nyumbani, now you start soaking in things that you cannot change, things that you don't, and then you carry the burden to your home,
mm,
and you can't stop thinking about that problem. You need to kind of learn how to eliminate some of the things which are not necessary, and they are out of your control. It
mm,
really helps for you to be able to do that. So don't forget tasks with deadlines and tasks that have consequences. Just do it now. And then with scheduling, you need to create tasks priority so that you
right,
can
to
you can
this.
figure out how you are going to make long term success depends on you organizing the priority of your tasks. And then you want to delegate, learn how to empower people, and do not always want people to do it your way. Allow them to finish the task the way they want, and then remove unnecessary distractions and unnecessary tasks that don't really bring value to you,
Mm.
especially in your work area. Allow yourself to not bring on stress where you don't have control. So let's go to the next one. So this is resilience is the ability to maintain a positive mindset, to be able to persevere, and the ability to learn and grow from adversity. Now, many of us, when we go through an adverse situation, we focus on the problem. We are not focusing on solutions, and neither are we focusing on lessons. So the positive mindset looks for the silver lining. What is the lesson I'm learning here? Now, for instance, let me use a very simple example. So, your boss comes in and tells you, brings back some work you did, and they say that you need to correct something. So, what do? You focus on what they said you need to change, and you forget the 11 other things you did right. And you
Mm,
now what happens? You go into shame and you start to have those negative thoughts, the mindset that says, oh, you are not good, you always makes mistakes, you are so stupid, now what are people thinking about you? Don't do that. And if you struggle with that negative critical narrative, you need to get to come and do some personal therapy, 6 sessions. And we do cognitive restructuring, we do psychological flexibility, we deal with
mm,
you developing these skills that have been given on that slide, adaptability, optimism, not always thinking the worst, self-confidence, believing, self-confidence is believing no matter what happens, I will be able to handle it. Yes, it's going to be difficult, but I have what it takes to handle it. Many of us, the reason why we lack confidence in being able to handle stressful situation, and therefore we lack resilience, is because we tend to generalize. Because something happened a long time ago and it was very painful, I don't want it to happen again. So we don't even consider that happened 3 years ago. I am not
mm,
where I was 3 years ago. I have grown. I am in a better space, but we also avoid thinking about that painful situation in a more therapeutic way, if I may use that word, where I'm saying, if I were to do that again, what would I do different? So that we look for the strengths and we look for the lessons, but also to ask the question, because I survived it, how did I survive? Many of us, when we go through stressful situations, we keep thinking and mourning what we lost, but we don't look at how we survived. So we are constantly reliving the pain and we are constantly trying to avoid pain in the future. And I want to remind us, no pain, no gain. We are growth mindset. We need to have a growth mindset that when we have stressful situations, those are opportunities for us to grow. They are opportunities for us to become better. And then there is flexibility, especially because when we don't have flexibility, we can't adapt because we keep thinking, wishing. Now, sometimes I usually will ask somebody, tell me about your regrets. And the thing that I hear that usually causes me to think this person, I need to train them on their how to shift their mindset, is because they say, I wish that thing didn't happen. And I usually say, well, we need to talk a little bit about that, because what happened, and it is, we can't change that, but we want to look at what happened, how we acted, how we responded, what we did. That's what we want to look at, so that we can see where we went wrong, but we can also see how we survived it and what are the strengths that were there, because that is now what we are calling resilience. And then we want to, emotional regulation, Noeline. Unajua tukikaa kwa
mm,
stress, we cannot regulate our emotions. So
mm,
we want to learn how to regulate our emotions. And usually to regulate your emotions is to do relaxation activities. Like now, be deep breathing, worship and worship and unajua hiyo sasa, you go into a presence where you rise above the circumstance, you rise above the negative emotions and you create positive emotions. That is one of the ways. And many of us are believers, many of us are religious people, but we don't see worship, whether it is personal worship, whether it is listening to gospel music that uplifts you, we do not see it as a stress management technique. And it is going for prayers, for instance, going to corporate worship where you are in church, or volunteering your time to the less needy. These are stress management strategies that
mm,
usually help us to regulate our emotions. So we are not feeling, when you are emotionally dysregulated, your world is very small. It's all about me and how woye me. But the moment you go out and you start giving your time to other people who are needy, you begin to actually feel like your situation is not as bad. And that is community. Creating community can really, really help us. Now, determination is what we call mental grit, that you are determined that even this is not going to kill me. And what cannot kill me, it is only going to make me stronger. And please let us learn how not to always anticipate that things will always be bad, because that is not necessarily true. That we need to remind ourselves that we have overcome. We are not victims. We have actually overcome. It's been difficult, yes, but we have overcome. You see. Yeah. So let me see the last one, and then we can. I can see our time is pretty gone.
Mm.
Oh, this was about boundaries. Now this one, Noeline, we need to have a full class on this one.
Full
A
session.
full,
I agree.
a full hour on what now we are calling boundary setting.
Yes.
But let me just share a little bit here. Now, number one, so we need to kind of pay attention to people infringing on us. Now, as Africans, we come from communities where we are communal. There is something that we call in multicultural counseling or competencies, we call it uh, saving face. So I will not tell you no, because telling you no is rude. Okay. So when we are talking about boundaries in our African culture, it sounds like rudeness. It also sounds like we are antisocial. It also sounds like we are not kind and we are not compassionate. And we need to redefine what it means to be agreeable within our community. Because
Mm.
what is happening is that, Noeline, people are internalizing anger, and it's that anger is coming out in our homes with our children and with our spouses. Because we cannot, out here, we cannot be mean, we cannot be rude, we cannot set boundaries because we want to please people. You see.
Mm.
So this one, I think we need to have a class on its own to really
Okay.
redefine boundary setting within our African community. How should it look like? Now, I also need to tell us that we lie a lot in the name of keeping community. We lie to people because we don't want to look bad. And I want to say that many of us are living in shame. And because we are living in shame, stress will never leave us, because we are constantly not wanting to offend anybody. So we are sacrificing our needs, and then we are developing bitterness and resentments towards people. We are having a lot of pain that is now coming out to the people we purport to love, the people who are very close to us, because we feel safe with them because they love us. But then we don't realize they don't deserve to have to experience our wounded self. We need to
Mm.
present to our best self. Then in the outside world, everybody thinks that we are such good people. Then we enter home and our children are terrified to even see us. Our spouses
Mm.
are also terrified to see us.
That's
So
right.
we do need to talk more about boundaries. And so I
Yes.
see our time is gone.
I hear you, Grace. I do remember there's a time you had this series teaching on boundaries. So I will look for time in your calendar and invite you to have a boundary session. I think in that month we'll also purpose to read the book Boundaries. I forget who wrote it, but I will post it on LinkedIn so everybody knows it's there. And Grace, I remember there was also a time when you were sharing on the boundaries workbook. So we will talk, you and I, outside of this forum, or
Yes.
how to go about it and how to organize for the boundaries session. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alrighty. Oh, our time is well gone. But I think we've addressed most of it. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to take time today to just are you able to take us onto your page, Grace, and guide us on how to book how do you say a session
Appointment.
with you?
Oh, a session.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So my booking portal is on my website www.gracekaraoke.co.ke.
Hmm.
And there you will see the button that says book an appointment, and it will take you to the page where you can book. And my rate card is there. And
Hmm.
I want to really encourage people to consider investing in a personal journey of 6 sessions of just personal. Let me get to know myself. Let me look at my stressors, which are some of them are unresolved issues from the past that are bearing on to my ability to manage my stress better. And so,
Hmm.
we can talk about that on a personal level. It can really help you even with your workplace stress. Yeah.
Okay. All right. For those of us who are on the Safe Space WhatsApp community, I will do a video recording of my page and post it on the group, and you will be able to see how to do it practically and to book the time. Grace, any parting remarks for us?
Yes, I am going to say that it is so important for us to learn and to practice communicating our needs.
Mm,
If you are not able to communicate to the people that need to hear you, please journal. Learn to write dear diary, because your diary
mm,
is your friend. They will not talk back to you. Practice speaking what you need in your diary.
mm,
And that way,
mm,
you are able to, number one, reduce pressure in your brain. Number two, reduce overthinking. And number three, you are able to go into a problem solving space. So I usually
mm.
encourage people to write. If you are having trouble at work, your stress is interpersonal relationships, learn to write letters individually to those people. You don't have to send them, it's
Don't
you
send them.
releasing. Yeah,
Mm.
you need
Don't
to
send the
release that
letter.
pressure. Yes, and sent
Mm,
letters where you say how you are feeling, what they did that made you feel that way. But you also want to ask yourself, what am I saying to myself about their behavior, so that you don't
mm.
own what is not yours. It's
Yeah.
very important to learn. And when we do the boundaries class, I can share more about how to separate what is your responsibility and where what is somebody else's responsibility. As children, we tend to believe that it's my fault, that's why people are treating me badly, and we become adults and we are still thinking that way.
In that space. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. To the audience, Grace is running a series called Healing Shame. She actually runs series almost every weekend. Just reach out to her, ask to be added to the group, and then work with her. She has very affordable group therapy rates and group teaching rates. Talk to her. I'll post her number once again in the comment section so you can reach out to her and ask her to add to the group and walk the journey with her. That's for group sessions, group learnings. If you want to speak to her on a one on one, she has shared how to do it, and I will share the how in the WhatsApp group. And we have come to the end of our session today, 5 minutes past the hour, but thank you, Grace. Thank you so much for making the time. Thank you for being our in house therapist, taking care of our mental health and our wellness and well being. Thank you. God bless you. And I will say good night, good afternoon, good morning to everyone based on where you're joining us from or what time you are watching the recording. Yes, the recording at. Thank you, everyone. See you during the next. Have a safe and fantastic balance of week. Bye.
Bye bye.